One of F1's most popular and longest-serving team bosses, Guenther Steiner, has left his role in charge of Haas. It's a shock move that poses serious questions about the team's prospects and future. It's almost unthinkable to imagine Haas without Steiner, as while the team bears the name of its owner, Gene Haas, this was really Steiner F1 in all but name. Steiner was the man who made F1's strangest team setup possible and became an unexpected star of the Netflix Drive to Survive series. We'll get into his importance a little later in this video. Steiner's departure, with former Director of Engineering Ayao Komatsu taking over as team principal, has surprised almost everybody in F1. But there has been discontent bubbling away for some time now, and the situation had been coming to a head behind the scenes. Now, Steiner's gone, and Technical Director Simone Resta is understood to be out as well. There were frustrations with the way that Haas was run from the very top, and that means eponymous team owner Gene Haas, who has seemingly become apathetic towards his own F1 team and refused to invest in it. Steiner and Haas disagreed on the team's potential in its current form, with a limited UK base in Banbury, a technical facility in Maranello where Haas has a critical alliance with Ferrari, and a barely used but excellent headquarters in the United States. While Steiner felt Haas needed steady investment over the next few years, as it had outgrown its unique multi-location Ferrari-dependent model, Gene Haas believes the team has underachieved and does not need more resources or improved facilities to perform better. This fundamental clash caused obvious tension and ultimately an irreconcilable difference. Gene Haas wants someone who will run the team his way, and Steiner is no longer that man. Even the official announcement hints at the extent of the disagreement. Haas stresses greater efficiency, maximising the team's potential and his supposed desire to compete properly in F1. Komatsu suggests the existing parts just need to be restructured and better led, and that the team in its current form can achieve better results. If that's to be taken at face value, then the implication is Komatsu told Gene Haas exactly what he wanted to hear, and that's why he now has Steiner's job. It's highly likely some of that lobbying took place in the latter part of 2023. There is almost certainly some classic F1 politics behind Steiner's exit, but there is also the thorny question of what Gene Haas thinks his F1 team is, what he wants it to exist for, and what that means for it in reality. Haas has always seemed happy just to let the team exist without wanting to invest in it or sell it. He doesn't need the money and doesn't need the team to be successful to benefit his Haas automation brand that it was set up to promote in the first place. In F1's cost-cap world, with a better prize money spread for the worst-performing teams than before, and a bunch of good partners that ironically Steiner was absolutely critical to getting on board, Haas's F1 team doesn't need to achieve much to tick over and either directly or indirectly make it worth the owner's while. But that's an underwhelming existence for a team in an elite sport, and if Gene Haas sincerely believes that his existing investment isn't being maximised, then he has misjudged the situation badly. Haas is F1's smallest team with basic facilities and a convoluted structure. Its Banbury UK base is underwhelming, and there's clearly some dysfunction to resolve there too. Banbury-based Komatsu as team boss may at least offer more direct leadership than it had with Steiner being based in the US. And the 2024 season will be a big test of his leadership and Haas's confidence in the team's potential. Without Steiner, there would have been no Haas F1 team. While billionaire Gene Haas had the money, Steiner was key to making the project possible. Haas had been courted by the ill-fated US F1 team that was due to join the F1 grid in 2010. That piqued his interest, and along with Steiner, he later started to work on an F1 team idea. However, after initial plans to run Ferrari customer cars were torpedoed when it became clear the rules would not allow this, it seemed the project was dead in the water. Steiner knew that building a conventional F1 team from the ground up wasn't viable, but he recognised the listed parts regulations meant there was a way to do it that didn't involve being supplied whole cars by another team. Listed parts were those that teams had to design themselves in order to qualify as a constructor. In 2016, this was the monocoque, survival cell, front impact structures, rollover structures, bodywork, wings, floor and diffuser. Steiner took the idea of the technical partnership to extremes, with Haas taking everything it could from Ferrari in exchange for serious cash. What's more, this meant the team could use up-to-date rather than year-old parts. The agreement also meant it could use Ferrari's wind tunnel in Maranello. Steiner also formulated the deal with Italian manufacturer Dallara, not only to produce the car but also do significant design work. Steiner's unique management style has made him an unexpected star of the Netflix Drive to Survive series and gives you an idea of his direct and to-the-point approach. In many ways, he was the ideal character to lead a small team like this into F1. Steiner then was key in ensuring the team survived when the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2020. Haas's interest in the team was waning amid frustrations about the difficulties in raising sponsorship, and there was every chance Haas would be closed down. However, Steiner was able to save the team with a strategy involving extreme cutbacks and effectively writing off the 2020 and 21 seasons with minimal development. A deal was done to take on 2 rookies who would bring backing, Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher, and Gene Haas signed the new Concord agreement thanks to the reduced cost cap and more equitable distribution of prize money. What's more, Steiner's high profile means he was a valuable asset to the team in terms of its wider profile and appeal to sponsors. For proof of that, take a look at the cover of the F1 Manager 23 game that features Toto Wolff, Christian Horner and Steiner. Steiner was central in making the team possible, getting it on the grid, keeping it there and turning a team that once could have been closed down into one potentially worth $1 billion or more. He is therefore a massive loss. The man replacing Steiner, Ayao Komatsu, has been part of Haas since its Grand Prix debut in 2016. Komatsu had already spent a decade in the paddock by then, first with BAR Honda, then Renault. As that turned into Lotus, Komatsu became more visible as first Vitaly Petrov's race engineer, then in the same role for Romain Grosjean. Both drivers were podium finishers with Komatsu by their side, Grosjean nearly a Grand Prix winner. Komatsu was eventually promoted into a more senior role within Enstone before, just as it became Renault, effectively following Grosjean to Haas. There, he's headed up trackside operations and has occasionally made public-facing appearances as the team's other senior figure at the track. Now that he's the senior figure, a lot more of those appearances will be coming up in 2024. The appointment of Komatsu as team principal is very much a carry-on-as-before decision. That raises big questions about a team that appears to be wasting the massive opportunity presented to it by F1's growth and transformed financial model. At a time when it should be pushing on, it's lost its team principal and technical director. It's clear that Komatsu will focus on the racing side of the operation, with a chief operating officer set to be appointed to work out of its UK base, focusing on other aspects of the team. It's understood the new COO will not travel regularly to races. This means that Komatsu's focus will be on improving the way the team extracts the maximum potential from what it already has. It's difficult to see him as being across as everything as Steiner was, particularly when it comes to enticing sponsors. The fact an internal appointment has been made for its 2 key leadership positions, with chief designer Andrea De Zordo expected to take over as technical director, doesn't present the image of a team that's ripe for expansion and new ideas. There's every chance of an upturn in form given last year's car was limited by a dead-end aerodynamic direction that didn't yield performance gains. In 2023 the car was quick enough to qualify in the top 10, but the tyre degradation was terrible, meaning points were rare. The big question is what impact Komatsu has in reshaping the team. While there won't be dramatic changes, he will have the opportunity to do things his way. Therefore, the effectiveness of his methods and how the rest of the team responds to him will have a big impact on how successful Haas is this season. A comparison can be made with Andrea Stella, who stepped up from a comparable role at McLaren to become team principal last year. This means such a move can work, although Komatsu is a very different character. Given Steiner had a big say in how the team worked, there is potential for Komatsu to stamp his own way of doing things on the team. However, Komatsu's hands may be tied by the financial limitations when it comes to wider changes, and it's difficult to see his team going anywhere. Its rivals from 2023, Williams, Stake and AlphaTauri, are all benefiting from heavy investment and new facilities, and Haas will fall behind in the long term. At a time when F1 is growing rapidly, Haas risks being left behind as an eternal tail-ender. The change at the top of Haas inevitably raises the question of whether it could be sold. With Andretti Formula Racing's entry still in limbo despite being accepted by the FIA, could it move to buy Haas? On paper, it's an elegant solution for all parties. Michael Andretti has said that he's had several conversations in the past with Gene Haas about the possibility. He told Associated Press in May 2022 that Haas wasn't interested and that he didn't care if he's running at the back. Gene Haas's position appears to be unchanged, but there is a logic to such a move, as he would rake in a huge sum of money. Andretti would get a starting point for his team, and the standoff between the FIA and F1 over letting in an 11th team would be resolved. But sensible as that sounds, right now this looks unlikely. As Andretti has said, the team seems to work for Haas and its machine tools company, so why would he sell? However, it can't be ruled out, and there's every chance that the ructions at Haas might mean Andretti, or F1 itself, tries again to make this happen. Ultimately, it will all come down to what Gene Haas wants. And as Steiner's shock departure proves, that appears to be carry on as is.